I'm Mr. Dequan. I'm the Regional Director of College Readiness here at Summit, and we're here to talk about how undocumented students and how they can access college. Now, when we think about the college process, it can be kind of scary. There's a lot of information to share. There's a lot of questions and myths around who can access it and who cannot. Our goal together is to go over resources and supports for undocumented students to access higher education and get to the concrete next step that they want to get to. So some terms to know in the process around undocumented students is first a dreamer. This is a name for a person who arrived in the US as an undocumented as a child. In Congress, the Federal Dream Act was proposed legislation, but it was never passed. It was a pathway to achieve citizenship for dreamers, and it would even qualify for permanent residency status when they complete 2 years of college. This started the national conversation around how can undocumented students achieve college. During the Obama administration, there was the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, otherwise known as DACA, which provided temporary renewable relief for deportation and a work permit. That's 2 years. Unfortunately, the program was ended by Trump in 2018, but on January 10th, 2018, a California judge blocked the decision and DACA recipients continued to renew, but no new approvals were made. On December 4th, 2020, the court issued an order to return DACA to the terms that were in place before 2017. The government is now accepting first-time requests, renewals, and advanced parole requests. So this is a really exciting time in our government, thinking about how can all people, including undocumented students, achieve higher education. There are a number of myths about undocumented students when it comes to the college process. First of all, colleges do not share personal information of applicants to the federal government or immigration authorities. This can often be a point of stress or concern for students and families around their immigration status. Please know that colleges do have a commitment to protect students' information. For example, all UC and CSU campuses are safe havens for dreamers. The University of California actually sued the Trump administration for their stance on undocumented immigration. These campuses will not cooperate with immigration authorities or share information. And a student's information is protected through FERPA and AB 540. That is the law in California. Each UC and CSU campus offers different support and resources. On campuses, they have dream centers to share these resources. In the state of Washington, all colleges welcome undocumented students. On their websites, they do have information and resources. They even have statements to declare their position. For example, from UW, we are proud to be a university that wholeheartedly welcomes and supports undocumented students of all ethnicities and nationalities. As I said before, every college has an undocumented resources page on its website. We encourage you to search up the websites and check out that information. They'll give examples of legal resources, financial resources, resources around advising and tutoring even. One example of those resources is Leadership Without Borders, which is housed at the University of Washington, Seattle. It is the state's topmost training center for individuals who support those who are undocumented, as well as supports for students themselves that they can go and learn about the resources available to them. Another myth is that dreamers cannot access financial aid. Yes, dreamers do have access to financial aid. They can get it from their state. Although undocumented students are not eligible for federal state aid, there is aid open directly from their state. In California, students need to fill out the DREAM Act. The DREAM Act was passed in California in 2011. It cannot be changed by the federal government or the president because it is owned by the state. So this is a long-standing opportunity for California dreamers to earn financial aid. It does allow undocumented students to receive in-state resident tuition at California public colleges and receive state student aid. That includes the Cal Grant, UC grants, etc. The AB 540 California law also says non-resident students are exempt from paying non-resident supplemental tuition. So before AB 540, students would actually have to pay more tuition if they were undocumented. Since that has been passed, those students are now available to get in-state tuition. In Washington, very similar laws apply. Dreamers can get student aid for college. It will be from the state of Washington and not from the federal government. HB 1079, which was passed in 2003, similar to the California law, says that Dreamers can get public in-state tuition. To qualify for this, a student must reside in Washington for at least 3 years and must ultimately graduate with a high school diploma or GED. The WASFA, which was launched in 2016, is the application for that. So when students enter their senior year, they need to fill out a financial aid form and application. If you are an undocumented student in Washington, you're filling out the WASFA. Please note that this data is protected. It is not shared with immigration authorities or policymakers. It is not even shared at school level. So that information is protected along the way. Similarly, in California, if you were an undocumented student there, you would fill out the DREAM Act application. A little bit more about those applications. In California, you apply for financial aid using the DREAM application. This will not be eligible for federal student aid, as we said before, but your student will be eligible for California state aid, including Cal Grants, which is free money. Remember, a grant is money you do not have to pay back for college. This is an opportunity for the government to support you and help you pay for that. There are income guidelines to meet as well as GPA guidelines to meet. If you are planning to attend a UC or CSU, you will also need to complete the AB 540 affidavit. This is a form that verifies your residency and gives you the discounted tuition, as we mentioned before. This is a form you do have to print and mail to each school individually that you apply to, and all of that process takes place during senior year. In Washington, similarly, you will apply for financial aid via the WASFA application. The student will not be eligible for federal aid, but the student is eligible for things like the Washington College Grant, which has income eligibility guidelines, as well as the College Bound Scholarship, which students sign up for in middle school, actually. And then they make a pledge to complete high school, complete their WASFA, and enroll in college. And as long as they've completed their WASFA, they're eligible to get that after 12th grade. Unlike in California, the HB 1079 affidavit is not something you print separately. Instead, it's just embedded into the WASFA application. So as long as you're completing that application in senior year, you are good to go to receive your state financial aid. A great financial aid option for Dreamers as well is through scholarships. Scholarships are open to a number of students. They sometimes have certain eligibility requirements. It is important to check citizenship or immigration status eligibility requirements. Many are open to a number of statuses. Applications often don't require proof of citizenship, so that's why this is a great avenue to think about for undocumented students. We do have 2 resources on our website to help start the search. In California, you see our link, tinyurl.com/CA scholarships, and for Washington, tinyurl.com/WA scholarships. Remember, you can look up scholarships as early as the beginning of high school. This is not only for juniors and seniors, but even freshmen and sophomores, as they start thinking about the college process and saving up, they can start doing this research. Here are a number of other organizations who help undocumented students. Do not feel like you need to memorize these. You can go onto our website, college.summitps.org. We have a resource that outlines more information about each of these groups and different resources and scholarships they offer. We strongly encourage you to connect with these resources as you navigate the college process. There's these outside resources, independent organizations. There's also the College Dream Centers in California we talked about, Leadership Without Borders in Washington. There are a number of folks in your network and who can get behind you to help you navigate the ins and outs of this process and to make sure that you are safe and ready to go for your concrete next step. Ultimately, what's important about this process is that you're asking questions along the way. There are a lot of concerns and a lot of worries that go into filling out applications, sharing your information. Please know that your school, your mentor, and your family have your back. If you have more questions, let's go ahead and pose those right now to your school leader. If you would like to speak with us directly at the College Readiness team, you can also reach us at collegereadiness@summitps.org. We're excited to talk with you more about your next steps.